Plants and shrubs of almost every description are on sale at this year's show, with displays and ideas to spark interest in the most reluctant gardener. And as well as the more traditional gardening, brush cutters and lawnmowers, it's also the more exciting equipment. The Forestry Commission and the Department of Agriculture have displays to give the gardener advice on any subject. You can choose to grow your own vegetables. And what would a garden show be without roses?
My area is the truancy barrel where you can put those tickets.
I was laughing at
Sportsperson of the Year award on Saturday night will be at the show each day until it finishes on Sunday. And the characteristics of the Tracy Wickham Rose.
Also here at my area is the truancy barrel where you can put those tickets if you go as you look at the game. The prize is on the
Michael Rumbles this one.
520 competitors brought their horses and horsemanship to Dungog for the rodeo, the proceeds of which will go to the Royal Blind Society. Over the past 6 years, $17,000 has been raised for that cause. The uniquely Australian art of camp draft racing was today's feature event, and some of the top performers in the country were there to show how it should be done.
It involves selecting a beast out of a mob of cattle in a yard we term the camp. You bring that beast to the front of the camp. The competitor holds the beast there separately from the mob for 3 to 4 turns. Then it's outside to negotiate the course. It's a figure 8 type course. The competitor that keeps his beast closest to the pegs and completes the course more or less in the quickest time will earn the highest points, and it's a point score system.
Not all of the action was in the main arena, however. Over at the bar, many spectators worked up a big thirst in sympathy with their more active mates. The excitement continues at Dungog tomorrow with the finals of the camp drafting and a full program of rough riding, including buck jumping, wild bull riding and events for women.
The black briefcase was found at midday sitting on the steps at the side of Maitland Police Station by 2 police returning from patrol. With the Russell Street bombing still fresh in everyone's minds, police were taking no chances and assumed the case could contain a bomb. While the police station and nearby residents were evacuated, police set up roadblocks and waited for scientific squad experts to arrive from Newcastle. The scientific squad x-rayed the case, which revealed several electronic circuits and what appeared to be a fob watch. An army bomb disposal expert was flown in from the Victoria Barracks in Sydney by the police helicopter. Donning protective clothing, he also x-rayed the case and pulled it into the open using a string. Satisfied that the case probably did not contain a bomb, he then sprung the latches. Tense moments followed, but there was no explosion, and the case was opened to reveal 10 digital stopwatches and 2 fob-style stopwatches. Police now believe the case of timepieces may have been lost and brought to the station by some well-meaning person.
Martin Palmer describes himself as a musical eccentric. The classically trained pianist will play, act and sing his way through a show entitled Let's Not Be Beastly to the Windsors, all proceeds from ticket sales aiding the Hunter Orchestra. Martin Palmer says the show will trace 200 years of arts and entertainment at Buckingham Palace.
There'll be a bit of drama, a scene from an old Coward play. There'll be some very serious music, but most of it will be very light-hearted, with a lot of piano pieces and songs. And it'll just take everyone right through 200 years of the history of the arts at Buckingham Palace.
Where at 12 noon the natives swoon, and no further work is done, but mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday, out in the midday, out in the midday, out in the midday sun.
The disastrous effects of the 1955 flood and the conviction that the Hunter Valley will experience another of its magnitude prompted the Flood Facts program. The two-day event, organised by the Hunter Valley Conservation Trust, is being held at the Macon Town Hall. Displays of equipment, photographs and original flood footage help to increase public awareness of the problem. The Conservation Trust says flooding cannot be prevented, but the effects may be lessened. People can also be taught how to cope in the event of it occurring.
Two basic ways of doing that. One's by a flood mitigation system which reduces the impact of flooding, and secondly by good planning so that activities and residential areas and things are taken out of the most dangerous flood areas.
Now there are organisations set up to overnight in the car park of the regional museum in Strait houses an important part of Australia's aviation history. Inside is a Fokker Universal six-seater aircraft, which was the first plane in the Ansett Airways fleet. Ansett was started by the mates Aboriginal Ansett in 1936, and the Fokker Universal did the 2-hour run between Melbourne and Hamilton in Torres. In those days, some 12,000 passengers were transported annually. Now the figure is around 5 million. The display, which is being taken to 22 Australian cities, is to celebrate the company's 50th anniversary. It includes a history of the operations and allows the public to take a good look in the Boeing 727 cockpit. And for the mechanically minded, jet engines and piston engines are on display. The exhibition, which centres on Anset's past, present and future, will be on display in Newcastle for the next 4 days.
The New South Wales Lovely Motherhood Quest has gone from strength to strength since it began 14 years ago, and at Carrington House last night, Quest coordinator Jenny McCauley said there had been a record entry this year of 120 mothers. The Quest raises money for the Royal New South Wales Institute for Deaf and Blind Children. Jenny announced this year's regional winner, Yo Todd from Adamstown Heights. Yo, who is the mother of a 10-year-old son David, was judged along with other entrants on her presentation, poise and personality, character, general knowledge, community interests, and interest in the home and family. Yo will now be judged in Sydney next week for the chance to become one of the 10 finalists.
What I'll be concerned about is to put our case, and on behalf of our rural producers, and to put it as strongly, as dispassionately, and on the facts as I can, but also at the same time to blend that argument seen from our perspective with the important consideration from their own perspective that their own interests would be better served, as I think many of them are coming increasingly to realise, by a scaling down and gradual elimination of these huge surpluses which hang over the international markets and corrupt them. I think that what you've got to do is realistically recognise the dimensions of the problem, recognise realistically the limits of Australia's capacity. We are a small nation of 16 million people. We can't move the world, but what we can do if we're intelligent is to say, here are the arguments. The secret of successful negotiation is to try and blend your own interests, the argument of your own interests, with the self-interests of the people with whom you're negotiating. And I think there is an appropriate blend, which I will try and establish in the minds of the people to whom I'm talking.
The leisure centre, which is due to be completed in July this year, has been the dream of the Wyong Shire Council and the residents of Gorokan for many years. The $2.6 million centre, which includes basketball courts, change and shower facilities, a theaterette and community meeting rooms, has also been a godsend for more than 100 unemployed people in the area. Since construction began in September 1984, these tradesmen and labourers have been given work on the project, and many have found permanent employment as a result of this experience. The Wyong Shire Council has put in the lion's share of the funding for the project with more than $1 million, while the developer and the federal and state governments have contributed the shortfall. The council's project engineer, Graham Brown.
I think most of the other projects in the Shire are far more labour oriented than this project is. But opposed to that, I think this project is going to have a far greater long-term benefit to the Shire than some of the others.
This goods train has sat at Broadmeadow Station since last night. It was on its way from Chullora in Sydney to Newcastle Station, carrying parcels and small freight. At Broadmeadow Station, the guard van was removed and the driver instructed to move the train on to Newcastle Station. He refused, so did the train's fireman, and AFULE members have black-banned the train throughout the day. It sat at number 2 platform. Traffic was diverted around it. The ongoing dispute over the phasing out of guard vans by the State Rail Authority has been the cause of several strikes and stoppages. An urgent meeting was called between the State Rail Authority and the AFULE this afternoon. Its outcome is not yet known.
When the invitation tournament began on Monday, 24 pairs of bowlers with state or local representative honours were in with a chance. By this afternoon, and after 4 days of round-robin competition, the favourites Ken Woods and Darby Ross had missed the semis, and the finals were between Rocket Thompson and Paul Bender of East Cessnock and the team of Bill Mattingly of Waratah and Reg Robinson of Sydney. Bill Mattingly has won the event before and is also a former Newcastle Rugby League representative player, while his partner Reg Robinson is the current state pairs champion. To their opponents, and Rocket Thompson has represented the state, and his partner Paul Bender is regarded as an up-and-coming Hunter Valley player. After 16 ends of play this afternoon, the teams were square at 15 all. Robinson scored 5 on the 19th end though, and the final scoreline read 24-15 to Mattingly and Robinson.
A report on tourism outlined progress being made by the Hunter and Lower North Coast Tourist Authority on promotion. The authority is undertaking the promotion, including the proposed Hunter Happening Information Book, with funding through the Steel Industry Assistance Plan. The board also discussed the importance of promoting tourism among local residents and small businesses and the need for a centralised tourist information office. A submission was also made to the State Rail Authority to upgrade the Newcastle Flyer as a means of attracting more tourists to the region. The Chamber wants to have the rolling stock improved and to restore seat booking facilities and catering services. Chamber centenary activities were also discussed, including the release of the Chamber's centenary wines and a commemorative cover design on the next Newcastle telephone book.
For the 36 children from the Newcastle Public School for the moderately mentally handicapped, today's visit was nothing short of sheer joy and excitement. It's the first time the Army unit has played host to a school group, and the children set about investigating it with great enthusiasm.
Hi, Ronan. Hi, David. How are you?
Fort Wallace is a tactical air support signal squadron, and its main role is providing communications between the Army and the Air Force in exercises or combat. While it doesn't look so big on the surface, Fort Wallace was an important coastal artillery unit during World War II. Today's visit was to show the children how the Army works and was organised by one of the staff members who has a child at the school. Fort Wallace says today's visit was a tremendous success. And if children's smiles are any indication, who knows, they might even get a few recruits. Who wants to join the Army? The Army's communication unit, Fort Wallace at Stockton, today opened its doors to a group of mentally handicapped children. It was a first for both the children and the Army base, and on all accounts it was a success. OK kids, who wants to join the Army?
Join Ray Deneen and John Church for all the news tonight at 6.
Crewing planes like these, evading the enemy, locating and destroying targets, and returning in one piece for yet another mission was the job of a select band of RAF personnel who saw service during the Second World War. It required special skills, and under the Empire training scheme, these were developed over a remarkably short space of time. A group of men who underwent their training in Australia in only 8 short months of 1941 have recalled their exploits in a book compiled by Newcastle author Dr. Sepp Owen. 10-course WAGS was launched today by Air Commodore Bomball, the commanding officer of the Williamtown RAF base. 37 of the 80 men who completed the 10th Wireless Air Gunners course to be run in Australia during the war have contributed to the book, recalling their experiences overseas, operating in and escaping from enemy territory. Dr. Owen says special bonds were forged.
Oh, they're special friends. They're good friends and they're special friends, like no other friends. Has to be like that, I think, when you have the common bond of being complete ignoramuses on all things military and aeronautical, and you're bashed into shape by the authorities. In many cases, we travelled overseas together and faced the disciplines and the annoyances and the fun together, and then the dangers together. So all that makes something very special.
Last night's symposium at Newcastle Tattersalls Club was put on by the Newcastle Industrial Safety Association. The association is celebrating its 20th year, and since it was formed in 1966, it has put on more than 60 symposia on a range of industrial safety, health and welfare topics. Last night's was the first for this year, and more than 120 representatives of local industry and commerce attended. The guest speaker, Dr. Dennis Wakefield, is a senior lecturer at the University of New South Wales. He is also a consultant immunologist at Sydney's Prince of Wales Hospital, one of the 2 major AIDS hospitals in New South Wales. He had 3 major messages last night. The first, that AIDS is a sexually transmitted disease. The second, that there is negligible risk of contracting AIDS in the workplace. And finally, that AIDS is not highly infectious.
First of all, it's not a highly infectious. So we have the concept of the leper that we had in biblical times, where everyone thought that leprosy was highly contagious and you just had to brush up against somebody to get it. Well, that's not true. The only way to get AIDS is through intimate sexual contact with exchange of bodily secretions, or by coming in contact with the blood that also carries the virus. And I think that's one of the major misconceptions. It's not highly infectious, it's not easy to catch. You've got to make a concerted effort to get this disease.
So in the workplace, most people would not be at risk?
No. In fact, another possible misconception that I think is worth mentioning is the fact that people with AIDS are in fact at a greater risk of contracting disease off their workmates than what their workmates are of contracting AIDS off them, because they're the ones whose immune system doesn't work. They're the ones that are susceptible to all these bugs that usually cause no problems in a normal person.
So if you are aware that you work with someone who does have AIDS, you have no reason to worry?
No, none at all.